Hi everyone, it's Riley. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk some more about the ZebraEnglish hiring process and share with you my top 10 tips for getting hired with ZebraEnglish. So before I launch into these tips, I do want to share a few quick invitations. If you are just getting started in the hiring process, or you're just looking into it and you are looking for coaching, if you're looking for a referring teacher, I would love to fill those shoes for you. I have created a website, which is linked in the description, that has a hiring guide on it that just walks you through every stage of the hiring process with videos for each step, explanations, printable resources, all those kinds of things. So if that's what you're looking for right now, I would love it if you would check out the description, use my referral link, and send me an email so that I can share those resources with you. Also, whether you are an applicant or already a teacher, I would love to have you join us in the Facebook community. So I have linked my hiring Facebook group as well as my teacher Facebook group in the description as well. So please make sure you check out the description. And for more videos about teaching ESL online every single week, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel so that you can stay in the loop with all my tips. So let's launch into the video. Honestly, these are a lot more than 10 tips, but I've kind of squashed them together into categories because 10 is a nice number. So these are my 10 plus tips to help you out in the ZebraEnglish hiring process. Now, before you even go through these tips and apply with ZebraEnglish, please make sure that you meet their teacher requirements. I have a video all about that, so if you are still a bit unsure about what those requirements are, you'll definitely want to check that out. And then, once you know that you meet the requirements, I would love it if you would stay tuned for my 10 tips to help you succeed in the hiring process. So tip number 1 is to get a referring teacher. Now, I'm trying not to be biased because I am a referring teacher, but seriously, I think this is the best way for you to set yourself up for success because ZebraEnglish does have some pretty specific things that they're looking for in the hiring process. And having a referring teacher, having someone who has made it through the process and is currently working with the company is just a great way for you to prepare yourself to meet those expectations that ZebraEnglish has. Now, of course, I would love to be a referring teacher, but I know that there are so many teachers with ZebraEnglish and so many who would be capable of referring you. So whether it's me or not, please do get in touch with a referring teacher. For my referrals, like I said, I do offer exclusive access to my hiring guide. And we also do weekly Zoom meetings. We do one-on-one Zoom meetings if that's needed and things like that. So like I said, I would love to be a referring teacher, but either way, please get connected. Getting connected in the community beforehand is the best way for you to just know the expectations that they have and hopefully meet them. So sorry everyone, as I was about to post this video, I realized that there was something I really quickly wanted to add in because I realized that I've never actually walked you through how to add me as a referring teacher and exactly what that looks like. So the easiest way to add me as your referring teacher is if you have not yet applied, if you just use my referral link that's down in the description. You can click that link and it will take you directly to the ZebraEnglish application. It will say like, hi, I'm Riley and I'm inviting you to join me here at ZebraEnglish, something along those lines. So that is definitely the easiest way to add me as your referring teacher. However, if you have already applied, there is a certain time frame in which you can still add me as your referring teacher, and that is 3 days. So as long as it's been less than 3 days since you submitted your initial application, it is not too late to add me as your referring teacher. So the best way to do that is just to reach out to me via email. Like I said, my email address is riley.autumn@outlook.com. As of right now, the system that ZebraEnglish has in place just requires you to email them some of my ZebraEnglish information, things like my show name, the email address that I use to sign up, and things like that. So if you are interested in taking this route, you will need to contact me personally so that I can give you this information to pass on to ZebraEnglish in order for you to become one of my referrals. Now, unfortunately, if you have already passed that 3-day window, or if you have applied with another referring teacher, but they just have not been providing the support that you need, there is currently no other way to add me as your referring teacher. So if that is the case, but you are still interested in adding me as your referring teacher, the best thing to do is just to start from scratch, with a new email address. So it's totally up to you to determine whether getting those resources and that additional coaching is worth maybe starting from the beginning if you've already submitted your video or done a demo test or something like that. Tip number 2 is just to download the desktop app as soon as you can. Once you have applied, even once you've submitted your intro video or your 1-minute video, but you haven't even done your demo test, you can still download the desktop app, and there are lots of resources that you can tap into even before you've scheduled your demo test. So tip number 3 goes right along with tip number 2 because it's checking out the teacher resources in the desktop app. So the desktop app has resources for new teachers, for professional development, and ones specific to the demo lesson. Honestly, I recommend checking out the new teacher ones and the demo lesson ones, but for sure, the demo lesson. In here, you're going to find videos that will just walk you through all the games. So you'll want to make sure that you watch every single video. This is seriously such a valuable resource that ZebraEnglish has given you because it demonstrates exactly what they're expecting on each of the different game slides. Also in the desktop app, tip number 4, go through some of the PDFs in the Resource Center. So there is a PDF that outlines Demo Test 1, and I know that this is sometimes overlooked because people are so focused on the videos, but this PDF just says the objectives for each slide, and you will be expected to meet those objectives. And it also gives kind of an approximate time that you're expected to spend on each slide. Now, don't stress too much about spending exactly 1 minute on this slide or that slide, but do take note of where they're wanting you to spend extra time. For example, the role play slide. They give extra time to the role play slide, so make sure that no matter how much time you're spending on other slides, that you are ready to allot more time to role play and really get your student producing those full sentences on that slide. Tip number 5 is to use the practice classroom. So in your portal, you will see some different tabs. One is resources, what we just talked about, and the other is classrooms. So if you go in here, once you have booked your demo test, it will show up as a classroom and you will have the option to practice. So get into that practice room. And the first thing that I want you to look at when you look at the slides is just the teacher tips at the bottom. Every single slide has little notes underneath them. Some of them explicitly state the objectives for that slide. Some give suggestions for extension. Some give you ideas of how to introduce the activity. So just skim through those. They will be quite similar to the PDF that you found in the Resource Center, but remember that these will be with you even when you go into your demo test. So if you get into your demo test and suddenly you panic, remember that there are teacher tips right there, and if you've read over them in advance, it will help you to quickly glance down and it will click in your memory what you're supposed to be doing at that point. So definitely familiarize yourself with those teacher tips in the practice room. Tip number 6 is also about the practice room because you really got to do just that. Practice. Practice the games and practice using the tools. So you can see videos of the games in the Resource Center, but some of them are a little bit different in your actual demo test. So you'll definitely want to practice, especially the ones that are different. If you are curious about some of these differences, I do have a video walking through these different games, which is in my exclusive hiring guide. So if you want access to that, definitely check out the description below. But just make sure that you really work through, practice the games as they are in the practice classroom, because that is how they will be when you get into the actual demo test. Now you'll also want to practice using the classroom tools. Up along the top, there are a few different tools you can use. You can use the marker, you can change the color and the size, you can give stickers, you can go into big face mode, things like this. Make sure that you practice using those, especially the marker. The marker was a little bit difficult for me to get the hang of just because you have to turn it on and turn it off every time that you want to use it. And if you don't turn it off, you can't click the next stage for whatever activity that you're in. So you'll want to make sure that you just get used to turning your marker on and off when you use it and when you're trying to do some other function, because this will just help you really smooth out the kinks before you get into your demo test. Tip number 7 also has to do with practicing, but this one is specific to practicing your teacher skills, your techniques that you're going to use in your lesson. So there are 3 main techniques that I really want you to focus on in your practice. The first one is TPR, the second is effective questioning, and the third is modeling. Now, if you come to our weekly Zoom meetings, we do walk through all of these and give examples every single week, and I am planning to make videos in the near future, so I'll try to link those in the description once they're out. But definitely be sure to really hone your craft when it comes to these 3 teaching techniques. Tip number 8, again, more practice. Practice your teacher talk. Practice your talking speed. Practice limiting that incidental language. Practice your transition language. With ZebraEnglish, you do need to use transition language. For example, let's go or let's play a game. And you want all of your teacher talk to be simple and understandable at an appropriate speed, and you really want to limit any incidental language or any language that could cause confusion for your student. Now, tip number 9 is this. After all of that practice, please don't get stuck in a script, because your interviewer will not be stuck in a script. They might go off script. They might make errors that you didn't expect them to make. They might be a little bit more reserved than you expected them to be, or a little more energetic than you expected them to be. So Interviewers can tell when you're just spitting out memorized lines from a script. So make sure that yes, you are practicing, but also that you're flexible and that you're aware of your student and your student's needs and able to adapt, especially if you're in demo test 2, because in demo test 2, they're going to give you personalized feedback in the first part of the demo test and expect you to incorporate it into the second part. So no matter how much you've been practicing, make sure that you are flexible enough to incorporate that feedback into your actual teaching. And tip number 10 is to prepare yourself. There are 3 specific areas of preparation that I want to focus on. The first one is equipment. You want to make sure that you have a computer that meets ZebraEnglish's tech requirements. You want to make sure that you have a headset, make sure that you have good lighting and things like that. Now, before your demo test, you can enter the classroom 10 minutes in advance. And if you click the little settings wheel up in the top bar, you are able to run a little IT test where you can test your camera and your headset, your microphone. You can also test your internet there. However, I will warn you that their internet test is not always reliable, so I would recommend doing a speed test just online, and you can probably trust that one a little bit more, but definitely get into a practice classroom, do the IT test, and when you're actually doing your demo, do that little IT test just to make sure that all of your equipment is functioning properly. Now, the second thing that you want to prepare is your environment. You want to make sure that you have a quiet space that you can call your own, at least for the duration of your demo test or whatever stage you're at that time. You also want to consider your backdrop. Now, there is no need to go out and spend money on this really fancy backdrop. ZebraEnglish is perfectly fine with a plain backdrop. In fact, they would rather it be plain than super distracting. So please choose a backdrop that is either plain or educational in some way. But do keep in mind as you're preparing a backdrop that unless you have an external webcam that will mirror your image, everything around you and everything about your video will appear backwards to the student. So if you were using words or a map or something like that in your backdrop, you definitely want to take that into consideration so that you can do everything backwards so that it will appear the right way for your student. And the third thing to prepare for your actual demo test or your actual teacher briefing or whatever is just yourself. This is an interview, so you do want to dress professionally. They do have the dress code outlined in the resource videos as well, so you'll definitely want to watch that. It's pretty basic, so dress as though you were going to an interview, even if secretly you're wearing your pajamas and your comfy slippers, that's totally fine. Also, make sure that you're just neat. You might want to pull your hair back or trim your beard if you have a beard. Just make sure that you look well kept and that you're dressed professionally as though you're going to an interview, because you really are. And those are my top 10 tips for getting hired with ZebraEnglish, for being successful throughout the different stages of the hiring process. Now, if you would like to go into more detail on those kinds of things, I would love to have you join us in our weekly Zoom meetings. As of right now, they are just being posted in my Facebook group, ZebraEnglish Hiring Q&A. They may eventually move to my referrals only website, depending how quickly they grow. But right now they're open to anyone in my Facebook group. So I would love it if you would come and join the ZebraEnglish Hiring Q&A Facebook group. Come and join our Zoom meetings. We go through a really thorough presentation, and I also share a handout at the end that just kind of recaps everything and gives you the resources that you need for these different things. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again in the Facebook groups or on my website or wherever it may be. And if you enjoyed this video or if you found it helpful, I'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you can stay up to date on all of my tips for succeeding as an online ESL teacher.